All right, to get us, fleshing up some of these trending stories, we have Oladende, your public affairs analyst. He joins us live here in the studio. Thank you for joining us. It's been quite some time we have you live here in the studio. But good to see you again. How you doing?
Much. Nice to see you.
How you doing? Good to see you. Now, let's look at this story. I'd like to know where you want to start from. But of course, the issue, one of the trending stories or top of the stories in recent time is the withdrawal limit. Perhaps you want to start from there.
Right. Thank you very much. We didn't imagine that we have so much money kept in different places and rotting away until it was announced. Now, the reactions varied. Those who were used to warehousing money in different places, they didn't like it. And then it wasn't just about withdrawal. Now, the window that they have to bring in the money was also limited. So you saw rotting money in billions all over the country. This goes to show that every penny spent to print those notes were wasted. They were lost. Because they were not in the system operating, being used, being utilized, but they were kept somewhere. Which also reduced the amount of fund within our financial system. So as it is now,
yes,
the way they said they're limiting withdrawal is going to affect the informal sector massively.
Okay, how is that going to happen? Because I know a lot of people have lauded this initiative and say this is a good time to control the amount of money in circulation if you consider during electioneering time where you have money
electioneering
in the economy.
The entire period will soon be over and we have to continue living our lives. So we cannot now lay too much emphasis on electioneering. It's a short-term thing. And when this cycle goes, it will take another 4 years for us to get back to election again. But the point I'm making is this. For the informal sector, the people I call primitive economy, majority of who much still needs to be done to drag them into the banking system, the financial system, they will rather not even get in at all. Imagine going to Kara where they sell cows. A unit of cow may go for as high as 500,000 naira. And then you are buying, you want to say you are transferring money to them, or you are paying with periods. How do they repurchase new stock? How do they restock? When those are going to be selling to them too, they will not be waiting to take things from you. So that area will be massively affected. And that will negate all the efforts that were being put in to spread banking and make it more inclusive. Which of course the introduction of POS has also been very, very helpful. Most people now go to open accounts at POS points. But in this case,
the conversation in recent time is that, yes, apart from, you talk about the election will come and go, it shouldn't be about election alone. And you also talk about the fact that it will affect the informal sector.
Massively.
Again, some other analysts like you have also taken a different position. According to them, they are looking at it that this will put a kind of value on the naira to see how you can conserve naira, having it out there, and then of course placing a value, a form of value
of naira. You see naira as paper money or naira as money. They're two different things entirely.
Because the conversation is that the more money you have there, of course, the less value you have of the money. But I mean, when you have little money in circulation,
naira as paper money or naira as money.
Either way.
Because transactions will continue on the different e-platforms. So we still have money in the system. Okay? What we're just trying to protect now, imagine the volume of billions that got wasted, that got rotten. Right? That was huge loss to the CBN and to us as a nation.
Right.
So that will not happen now, the way we are going. We will have forestalled that because you now do more of the transaction online or using the e-platforms. Not only that, every transaction can be tracked. Unlike before, if it was like this, it would have been difficult for somebody to embezzle 97 billion naira. You understand? Why? Because monitoring is going to be online now, be 24/7, 365 now. So that way, we'll be dealing with corruption in a way. And of course, the kidnappers in the forest who wants to grab somebody and ask for 100 million naira, when they know that the max anybody can get in a week is 100,000 naira. It will take years, okay? And I'm sure they're not ready to do all of that. So I rather see kidnapping either shutting out or going so down, because if they say, okay, come and pay only 1 million naira, even 1 million naira will take.
You're not concerned that they might change their approach and they might start asking for transfer instead of having fiscal
that
cash.
Will make it easy to track them. Transfer money into whose account? Into Frank's account with which bank? Come on, it makes it a lot easier. You know, we have problems of tracking them. A lot of them still get arrested after all. But this will make it a lot easier.
Just before
not when they were accepting physical cash.
Just before we move on from it, I mean, it's a really, you know,
it's
a multidimensional approach.
It's hydra-headed.
Yes.
So we cannot pigeonhole it.
I know as at yesterday, the Senate has asked, you know, the CBN to see how they can adjust these, and they are asking, you know, to considerably adjust the withdrawal limit in response to the public outcry. What's your position on this?
The CBN must have had the reasons for keeping it at 100,000 naira. Okay.
For individual weekly.
Yes, for weekly.
Why corporate, of course, is
yes,
500,000.
they just didn't wake up one day and went on air to announce. They also have researchers in the house. They have the economists and all of that in the house who will have contributed, you know, to coming to that conclusion. It will be uncharitable to now insist that they should adjust it, because the matrix and the instances that they laid that brought them to that point, they have to be altered. Right. We're talking figures now. So, I mean, I wouldn't support all of that. Don't forget that the people you are asking, that are asking them to adjust considerably, they are politicians. So they also will need money for their campaign. Okay? They may be adversely affected if vote buying is part of their strategy. If inducement, financial inducement is part of their strategy. So we will look at it from all of that angle.
All right. Let's go to the first story we'll talk about, which of course is similar to this, withdrawal limit, talking about new Naira, which of course hits the economy today.
Yeah.
And so, the expectation is that, yes, you're going to have the new Naira, but the concern has been how to gradually take back the old Naira from the economy and replace it. How difficult would this be? But first, let's look at what do you think, your thought about the new Naira hitting the economy today?
There's so much anxiety. We want to see what it looks like, especially when the color scheme just did a kind of swap with existing color scheme for different denominations, right?
Right.
People are anxious to see and then to familiarize themselves with it. Otherwise, you might end up collecting the new 100 Naira note for maybe 200 or 500. So again, I still want to call out National Registration Agency. From the moment that thing was announced, I had expected that they will be on air in as many languages as possible, indigenous language as possible, educating
using
the people.
Different platform to disseminate, sensitize
educate
people.
Let them know.
All right, that's a point.
There's not much enlightenment out there going on. So you will see, maybe the new 1,000 is blue, right?
Yes, you now have something. I don't have that one.
Okay.
Would have showcased
exactly.
You know,
so there's a lot of confusion, especially with
the new 1,000 now looks like 200, and 200 now looks like the
if this
old,
this present
so
agency is not working, I am calling on the federal government to raise another thing. We need a functional national registration agency. Even with the election ongoing, there has been nothing coming from them. You know, with the electoral campaign going on, they should have been talking to the people, letting them understand that you must get your PVC. Not only getting your PVC, it's when you vote that you add value. That card means nothing if it's not utilized. But they're not there. It's a huge minus.
Now, I mean, let's get to the aspects of how difficult will it be now
It
to
won't be. It won't, the banks.
these old notes
Let me tell
out
you,
there.
we have the banks right on ground, and there's no bank in Nigeria that doesn't have POS operators.
Right.
They're like agent banks to them. Don't forget that.
That's right.
So they will be used as channels to pay out the new notes and retrieve the old ones. Don't forget that there are limitations anyway. If France will go and collect 20 billion naira and take it to your bank, they will not accept it unless you can convince them it's from illicit, legal, and acceptable business. Because they don't want to recycle money for terrorism and for drugs and other illegalities.
Because the reason why I asked that question is because I know that when the CBN release a circular as regards this news, we have about over 3 trillion naira notes outside there. And so between then and now, one would have thought that perhaps they would have retrieved that
a huge bulk
yes,
of that 3 trillion
of that amount in circulation
and already spoiled. We've been seeing money in 40-footer, 20-footer containers, as in paper money, that are rotting. So I don't have fears.
The deny that.
But the video clip that we saw,
they were not really naira notes. But maybe we should take them for their words.
Okay,
really.
If they are not naira notes, good luck to us. That means we've not really suffered any loss. That the naira notes that we printed, perhaps are still. When you take money out of the system like that, you're not helping the economy. You are reducing the robustness of the economy. Because it's an advantage. Well, if the money is in the system and it's going forth and coming back, that's when value is being generated.
And maybe the good way to start is to look at how much is in the economy and how much you're pushing out. Perhaps you'll be able to meet at a point.
It will be difficult to determine how much is in the economy. Okay? A lot of naira has been dollarized. Don't forget that. And then when they bring them back, the exchange rate, the buying rate will be a lot more than, will be higher than the selling rate. So you must get that as well.
Interesting.
Whatever figure they are working it, for me, is mere speculation.
Let's quickly move to the next story. Now, interesting stuff. We'll follow up on that story and see how it goes from here. And hoping to see the new naira note out there in the economy when I go to bank to the transaction.
The moment I get it, I'll send it to you.
It's all right. Okay, so let's look at the next story, which talked about, of course, Customs 38 here sees about 1 billion naira worth of goods, out there. And that's as a result.
For me, it's not strange.
Yes, that's as a result of the fact that you keep recording increased activities in smuggling and all of that.
Yeah.
Can we ever come to a point where we can stop this?
Can I say never or no? If I say never, you will see me as a pessimist. But the reality is out there.
No, of course, it's your opinion. I mean,
it's your opinion. But I have my basis for saying never.
Right.
Out there, we have over 1,520 unmanned borders, through which things go in and things go out and then come in. And the smuggling is a huge business. If you must know, if you want to find out, go to the border communities from here to the north. You will be shocked the volume of transactions that go on daily. So that there's a seizure, for me, it's not a big deal. That's why the customs and SIs, they are there to police our borders.
But the root cause, perhaps like you said, we have thousands of unmanned borders.
Yes. So even the seizure that they announced, for me, is a tip of the iceberg.
So let's look at the measures, to really address this.
No, we're not the only country in the world that suffers unmanned borders or have porous borders. But unlike other countries, we have not been addressing our own situation. America had to build a wall between the U.S. border and Mexican border. Why? They wanted to make sure they manage the inflow and outflow of goods and services, of money between the two nations. But here, it's not been done. We have a border whatever agency, forgetting their name now, I don't know what they're doing.
But the elections are here. The 2023 election here. So what is the implication of this? Because we continue to record activities of smugglers within the border, it means that this, of course, one should be called for concern, perhaps.
Absolutely.
But to be wary of these activities around the borders in terms of ammunition,
that's where I'm going.
Proliferation.
That's where I'm going, especially small arms.
So how do
they
we
usually smuggle them in?
Because this is a concern, really.
Yeah, now we have a very high rate of insecurity in the country. All the bandits, the kidnappers, the cattle rustlers, the terrorists, they all come armed. To that extent, you begin to ask yourself, how did they get the arm? Okay, and it's massive. Even Fulani cattle headers, they also are armed with AK-47. What I find funny or painful is that AK-47 is expensive. It's not a penny for one, but yet they still buy them, and brand new ones for that matter. So a lot more needs to be done by the federal government to make sure all the unmanned borders are identified. They may not build physical walls. They can build electronic walls using Android as well. Using a drone. Perhaps and drone. Other technologies, okay, that will help them to detect movement, human habitation, or whatever.
Let's move to the next story, which, of course, it's a record of the oil theft over 12 years, which it says it has reached about 6.25, 25 trillion naira worth of crude stolen.
How do you mention Naiti?
Because Naiti, of course, it's an extractive industrial transparency initiative. Isn't that what you meant?
What is the transparency now?
Well, this is what they have seen in their record. Really.
No, but what they are doing is they are admitting failure of the system over which they are supposed to be superintending. And it's unfortunate. We knew we were suffering theft, but we didn't know the magnitude until Tompolo, the contractor guarding some pipelines, detected and discovered a pipeline that directly linked to our major artery and then siphoning our oil to the high seas. And this has gone on for so long. With that discovery, you want to ask yourself, what new things has happened since then and today? About 2 weeks ago, I read again that discovered another pipeline being used by thieves again. The question I want to ask, who are those responsible? It's not me, it's not you. We don't have the wherewithal, we don't have the technical know-how. So the key people in the oil industry are responsible. So the security needs have to move, have to do something, especially DSS, the secret police, have to really move in and make sure they fish out everybody who is involved. That's the only way you can stop it. When you fish them out, maybe they go to court and then they get jailed. Some that have lousy assets get seized and impounded. It will serve as deterrent. What they are doing is a national sabotage, because the amount of what they are stealing tells heavily on our national wellness financially. So it shouldn't be treated with kid gloves.
We hope that, like you rightly suggested, we should have get someone arrested soon. But unfortunately, no one has been arrested.
Well, the DSS, instead of chasing petrol marketers, calling them out to go and sell petrol, let them go and find out those who are the brains behind. It's an intensive capital industry. It's not for small boys like you and I. No, we can't afford it. So they have a lot to do there. That way, it will be a lot faster if we can capture, everything that goes out there. Our earning will increase. We're going to start paying off our debts, and then we can get enriched. There will be money for infrastructures that are still lacking in most places in Nigeria.
So
and perhaps we can now have modular refineries in regional positions in the country.
Right.
That we stop exporting crude oil.
Okay.
We now be exporting finished product from the refineries. Then that way, naturally, the naira will against the dollar and other global currencies.
Well, I think that's where we need to leave it. Thank you so much, Reolade Ndiaye. It's Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for coming on Business Breakfast. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You have a great day. Still to come after the break. Of course, we'll turn our attention to the stock market and look at, of course, how the market gained 73 billion naira in a day on Wednesday. So we'll take a look at that, the sentiment driving the market when we return from this commercial. Please stay with us. This is Business Breakfast.